what they say. Animals love good hunters. You ever watch Hunter x Hunter?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right, my man. Check. All right. Check. Okay. All right, let me know how it sounds. Should be able to hear your levels in the mic.
Check.
Yep. Can you hear?
Probably a little bit higher on mine.
Okay. I think that's as high as it will go, but we can always raise it up as well.
Bet.
And if he tries to give you a toy, just let him. Yeah,
he's trying to.
He's gonna beg for your attention. All right. I'm gonna start this here. All right, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Create Yourself podcast. Today, we have a very, very special guest, the man himself, TSOUP, a.k.a. Taj, a.k.a. the creator of FOMO Feels, a.k.a.
Mr. All Styles.
Ooh, a.k.a. We got another one?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Man, I appreciate you coming out. Today we're going to talk about several different things. I guess before we jump into anything specifically related to either dance, design, art, where does the name TSOUP come from? Tell the people.
So, going back to high school, probably like, I think my time for high school was like between 2008 and 2012.
Okay.
Is when I graduated. I was trying to think of a name probably like my sophomore year. And got into a crew named the Jive Nerds.
Okay.
We did birthday parties. We did talent shows at school. They were all breakers.
Yeah.
Except for one named Michael. He was a popper.
Okay.
So that's where I got a little bit more of my popping from. But my first style that I trained in was popping.
Nice.
And like, but yeah, I think when I got in the crew, I was trying to think of a name.
Yeah.
Because everybody else had a name.
Right, everybody.
And they were just like, oh yeah, you have to wait till we give you a name. But I was like, how long do I have to wait though? I ain't trying to wait that long, dog.
You're like, can I get promoted already?
Exactly. Trying to get my name right now.
Yeah.
And at first, I was thinking of, because I would write it in my sketchbook when I was in art class and do like different designs, T-Money.
Okay.
And I was just like, after a while, I was like, nah, this is kind of whack.
Yeah. You're like, going out of it.
Yeah. I was like, this is not hitting how it's supposed to.
Right.
And then I would always say, like, say if I'm filling out a form or somebody's filling out a form behind the reception desk or needs my full name or something, whole name is Taj Campbell or Taj Micah Campbell is my whole like first name. But they would say, spell that. Yeah. I would say T-A-J or T-A-J for Taj, and then Campbell like the soup. C-A-M-P-B-E-L-L. Yep. And so it was just like that. So I was like, shorten that up. T-Soup.
So you gave yourself your own name.
Yes.
You didn't wait for it.
Yes. I was like, I'm not waiting on that.
You said, no, I need a name right now. I have to represent myself.
Yes.
All right, that's dope. And so you said, you were with a crew called Jive Nerds. So I'm assuming, did you start dancing in high school? Or when was your origin story? How did you start?
It was pretty much in high school or probably like late 8th grade.
Okay.
If I'm thinking about like training in a specific style. But if I'm thinking of when I started dancing in general, of course, when I was little, I was watching a lot of Michael Jackson.
Oh, yeah?
And so I was trying to be like Mike, even in the living room when I was little.
Yeah.
I remember my parents told me about a day to where I think we had the family over, like extended family of like grandparents, maybe some cousins over at the house, and Michael Jackson was on. Yeah. And I was waiting to see if I could dance to whatever song that was playing, and I go over to my dad and I was like, Daddy, can I dance? Can I dance? And then he's like, go ahead, boy.
Yeah.
get out there just doing whatever.
Right.
And he's just like, yeah, go little man, go.
Yeah.
So that would be like just when I was little, and then just small instances like that. But when I really dug into trying to dance and being like, hey, I want to get better at this.
Right.
It was pretty much late 8th grade.
Okay.
I remember there was like, not a prom because that was for high school, but it was some kind of banquet at the end of 8th grade to where dressed in, got dappered up in my little suit and was on the dance floor the whole time. And was just like, I want to get better at this and not just be doing like line dances.
Right. You want to go out there and just bust a move on the dance floor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then so I would say in freshman year of high school was when I was like, oh, I want to get better at popping because I watched a lot of Missy Elliott music videos.
Okay. Yep.
And I saw Mr. Wiggles in the Work It music video. It was either the Work It one or it was the remix. It was probably the original one. And he did the wiggle walk. That was
game over. This man said, yep, he made the decision for me.
That's what I want to do.
Yep.
And I practiced that wiggle walk all the time in my room until I got it down. And then, just started working on my popping, different hits. I didn't really know positions and like that or whatever. So I just kind of like watched different videos, try to imitate, and then eventually find myself through that.
Right.
But I also admired different styles as I was growing in my dance journey. So it was popping, and then when I got into the crew, everybody was a breaker.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, let me get some breaking.
There. Yeah.
And then that's where I got down. My first power move was from my friend Dan, because he would do crickets. And so crickets. First power move was crickets.
Yep.
And then once he got down jackhammers, I was trying to get down jackhammers.
Yeah.
And then a dude named Daniel Barron came through, and he was like new kid in the crew that just went to Garland High School. And now he's bringing in windmills, flares.
Yeah.
And we're just like, oh my God, he can actually do it. And so we were like, teach us, train us. And so it was getting down windmills.
Yep.
Getting down movements for flares.
Painful times.
Yes. Oh boy, I still got scars on my shoulders.
Oh yeah.
And then like there was also this kid, because also Ziggy in Indigo Tribe, he was in the same crew, and I think he had just gotten out before I got in.
Okay.
Ziggy, this dude named Godswill, and this dude Jacarius. Jacarius had down 1990s. And I was like, and he could spin like a top. I was like, golly.
That's difficult. That is difficult.
In high school. And I was like, how do I even get the motion for that? So I would practice that movement getting into it.
Yep.
End up doing cartwheels the whole time.
Right.
And then
it's not clicking.
Yeah. But it's crazy when you hit that moment and your body understands the movement. And you just, instead of turning into a cartwheel, you go onto your hand and you start that spinning movement.
Man.
And you don't exactly spin all the way around, but you get the feeling of how it's supposed to be. And it's like, oh shit.
You're like,
oh.
No, wait, did I just do it?
Yeah.
Dude, it's like that feeling in your stomach. It's all like butterflies. Just like, did that just click? Because after, after you do something for so many times, like, am I ever going to get this?
Yeah.
And then it's just one time, like, oh my gosh, this is the moment.
Because your body is building up that strength in the meantime to do it.
Yep.
And to adjust for that new movement. And then once it clicks, it's game over. And so it was like, but it was weird because I was trying to do 1990s.
Right.
And I would go from my left to my right, but I wouldn't be able to spin on my right, but I could spin on my left. Because I went down onto it so many times.
Right.
And out of that, instead of doing 90s, I started getting dead mans.
Dead mans, yeah.
And so I just started doing that instead.
Dang.
And then training that.
Those are different. I've always tried to do a dead man, and for the life of me, my body and mind do not understand it.
Because it's a different movement. It's like, instead of guiding yourself to the hand you want to spin on, you just spin on the hand you go down with, and that's it.
Yeah.
And you just go right into the movement.
Yep.
but I don't know. It clicked for me.
That's what's really cool about breaking too, because, and probably other styles of dance as well, you're trying to do something and unintentionally something else comes out. Because I remember Alfredo, he was trying to learn air flares, and he's so freaking flexible. And so when he went, he accidentally did like a walking air flare, where we don't hop or throw or anything. You just, and he was like, what the? And then he just started practicing that, and I was like, it's so cool. You just kind of stumble across that next thing, you know?
Cause like I still watch him when he does those, and I'm like, how the fuck, bro?
Dude, that man's shoulders are ridiculous. But okay, so you know, now as you've evolved, and I know you said, and this is something interesting as well, like you were, you know, you got inspired, and then you started learning and evolving and kind of practicing your own moves, foundations. How did you know when you had found your style, or when do you feel like you found your style?
Pretty much when I saw consistency in what I was doing, regardless of what style I was doing. Because like a lot of the times, and I kind of, when I kind of thought I found it, I think it's still consistent to this day, but it's like just the emphasis on the groove between the styles. So like say I was getting into popping,
right,
or I got into popping, I got into breaking, down the line I got into locking, house, whatever style, and I had respective teachers for them. But it was understanding the feeling and the essence and the groove first, and then getting down the movements, getting down the steps and the foundation. Because when you get down essentially the groove, that's the closest thing, at least to me, to the essence of the dance. And the one of the closest connections to the times that it was created, or the times that it was grown in, or cultivated. So like say if you're in locking, you're trying to understand that up lock or that up rock, where to place the locks, how to do your pacing, and not just putting out a fist, but kind of bouncing with it as you go in. Or even as simple as being like listening to hip hop and being able to bob your head to it. Then you have sort of a groove, at least some rhythm in there to connect to and to fall back on and rely on. And that feeling can carry you throughout the style.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, so that's the way that I kind of learned things and picked up on things, was understanding. I looked at a lot of the dancers that I admire. I look at how they enjoy their moment and how they're, how it looks when they're really just living in that moment of a session, a battle, or whatever, or just anything that has to do with their style. And I want to understand that feeling.
Right.
And once I feel like I've understood that feeling, it becomes easier to implement foundation. And so, because if I'm trying to do foundation first, I can get down the step.
Right.
But if you ask me to freestyle it, I don't know how to do it.
Right.
Because it's like, it's not embedded in me yet. It's just like, I've learned these moves. You got to give me some kind of platform, or not platform, but some kind of direction.
Yeah, structure,
Yeah, structure, direction to be able to execute. Ask me to freestyle, I couldn't do it. But if I'm going through the groove first, and the feeling first, and the soul first, and the essence first, and understanding it, then it becomes a lot easier to just push it out. Because then I'm connecting with the music on another level. Because like, we have to dance to the music. So if we're not connected to it, it becomes that much harder to execute.
Right.
And so like, if I'm connected to it and I'm in that zone and I don't have to think about moving to it, then the moves just start coming.
Right. Right. It's like all the training, preparation, you can learn all the moves, you can practice all the concepts, but until you kind of like you said, it's almost like living in the it's being the most present you can be, feeling a feeling that just makes you move. And from there, you're kind of just, your body just knows what to do. But now you actually get to experience the feeling, and your body gets to experience the movement.
Exactly that.
So are these things that you look for when you're, obviously you're a judge for multiple events and looking at all styles. Do you look for that to see if they connect with the essence, or do you look for other things as well? Or what do you kind of view as the most important thing?
I think for me, it's that connecting to that essence is most important, because then that allows you to live in the moment, and people can tell, like especially the judges, or if you have any like dance experience, you can tell when somebody's living in that moment. Right. Like you can just feel it, because they make you want to feel it as well. And then everything kind of comes after that. Still, I feel like not as important, but still important, is the other things. Like I know to get more organized and really have a structure of what I'm looking for, I got off of Seiler, King Seiler, the things he looks for in battles, as far as like qualities like musicality, creativity, originality, execution, foundation, and battle. I threw an extra one of like showmanship and performance, because we're also performing at the end of the day. Right. Even like when we're learning about different art forms, I think at least this is how it was for me in school. Art, essentially, when it was referred to, it was as far as like drawing and painting, it was referred to as visual art, or studio art. Dance was referred to as performance art. So it's even like we're giving a performance for people. We're putting ourselves in front of people to either understand a message or to entertain them, whatever the goal is. Now we still do it for ourselves. Sure. We still do it for the love of it, and we want to express what we're feeling as artists. But we're also, our interaction with our environment also matters. So like if I'm going into a battle, I'm not just giving a round, I'm interacting or engaging with my opponent. I'm of course trying to execute well and perform well for the judges, so I can be able to have an advantage of some sort, but the crowd is also there. Right. So I can pander to the crowd a little bit, at least to get them interested or get them into it. And that can also add to the judges' viewpoint as well. Of course, not being as important, because some people, like, you can still, hold up, let me. Yeah, go ahead. the fro is froing today. The fro is froing today. But, like, the judges are still looking at your dance and having to get really detailed in what they're looking for. So the biggest thing is not crowd engagement. Right. Because if the crowd cheers, it depends on what crowd that you have. Right. If it's a crowd full of dancers, they're probably going to have tendencies on when they cheer, or if they notice something crazy. Right. If you have a crowd full of like the general public, they'll scream at anything. Yeah, for sure. They'll scream at anything. It could be a little kid up there, not doing them or doing the most, but not knowing what he's doing. They're like, oh my God, he's the next. I literally have been in battles with kids, and the general public, it's like at what? No, wait a minute. Perfect example. Go ahead. Perfect example. Go ahead. UNT, Yell Like Hell, and they have these intermissions, right? So they choose people either from the crowd or from different teams or whatever to come up and dance and have the crowd pick. Yeah. And I got hold. I got hold. This list rent free for sure. Tell us what happened. Tell us what happened. I got hold so bad. I don't remember the song, but they had us on stage. We was outside. It was nighttime. They had the lights up and everything. I think I was either getting ready for a performance with Choreo Block to perform for Yell Like Hell, or we had just finished. But they pulled up people to come dance. went up and was just like, all right. I know
You're like, let's go.
Probably like the most experienced one up here.
Right.
I'm gonna go light, but I have a slight tendency to expect to take it.
Right.
And so if I don't get it, I'm like, hey, who
is going on?
Somebody better be actually good up here.
Yeah.
But they have us. First of all, they have us going all at the same time. It's not like one by one.
That is weird.
Yeah. They'll be like, all right, everybody, start. And everybody's just dancing. So we got to share the entire stage with everybody. And it's not, you don't get a clear cut of whose moves is going on. And then when the crowd chooses, they'll be like, they'll hold up their hand over each person.
Yep.
And be like, oh, we're going to do it by applause volume or whatever. For TSOUP. For such and such. And you get somebody in some stupid costume. And I hope they're not.
They're sitting there like,
I probably don't even know you. But like some crazy costume, doing some crazy move, and it just panders to the crowd. It was either like I don't remember exactly what it was. It was like some twerking, or it was like some stupid, some
worm, something like that. Yeah.
Stupid shit. And I was just like, okay, no, I got this.
Yeah.
And they go over them, and everybody's going crazy, and they give it to them. And I'm like, I ain't never been whole like this in my life.
You're like, I've been battling a lot. Never gone on like this.
No, never. And I was just like, this is why I can't hold such a high regard for
the crowd.
Yeah, for the crowd and like crowd judge battles and whatnot.
That's a really good point. And
like intermissions and everything, because you don't know who's going to be in the crowd.
Right.
So whenever you have a battle that actually has judges that actually are experienced and they know what they're talking about, they can give you feedback. It's more important than pandering to the crowd.
Right.
And yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's awesome to see how judges really get in their zone, right? Because sometimes you can see the crowd go crazy and then you see the judges like this. Very intentional, like watching and just like being able to enjoy. But you can tell when that person gives that contagious energy, and you see the judges.
Yep.
They're trying.
Just like I'll be in there and I'm like,
yeah. People are like, hey, why are the judges so stressed out? And really, y'all just like, so good. Like,
I can't react because I gotta.
Let me contain myself.
I gotta watch. You might fuck up in like the next second.
Yeah. So, okay, I have a question. And maybe there's no like great answer, but just from your perspective, out of the battles that you judge and the things that you watch, what do you feel like is an overall critique that you wish you could just like, hey, everybody, just like a pointer or a tip that would just elevate everybody to another level? Like, do you have something on the top of your mind that maybe you watch pretty often? You're like, if they just understood this little thing, like this would just take them so far. Like, do you have something like that you would like to share?
In like the Dallas scene or in like just in general?
Let's do the Dallas scene.
Dallas scene. Foundation. Foundation. Yeah, because I feel like how we were talking about before, Dallas has great creativity.
Right.
Like, I would go to other places. I haven't been to a super amount of different places, but I've been to enough and watched enough videos and seen enough different areas to be like, Dallas has something unique about their creativity that I haven't seen matched in other areas across the country, in the world, whatever. And it's great to see. It's great to enjoy. And I love to see them thrive in their art and in their movement. But if we're talking in battle specifically, when you're putting yourself in an environment to be judged, to where there's a culture to keep in mind, to where there's different styles to keep in mind, especially if you do a style-based battle.
Right.
Even if you do open styles, you still keep in mind kind of like respect to the dance
Sure.
that you perform.
Sure.
And it even helps with execution. It helps with all those qualities that we're looking for as judges, because your round ends up being more clear by default.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you have a base, a foundation to work from and build up on. And that's where the real like creativity comes in. If you don't have that foundation, that round is more likely to crumble unless you're really solid in just your general movement as a foundation.
Right.
Even some crazy freestylers that would be seen as like not really foundational, that would be in the Dallas scene. Some of them really dove into a specific style or multiple styles to an extent to at least understand the foundation and be able to use it to where if they dived strictly back into that, they could give out rounds, no problem.
Right.
And so, but not everybody can do that.
Right.
And it's like, it gives you a great starting point. It gives you great, places to work from if you're out of ideas, if you're trying to create more, if you're trying to be clean, like whatever you want. So it's so important to have whenever you're getting into battling specifically, I think.
Why do you think that people don't focus on foundation?
Just either short attention spans, not enough time, their daily life, because it does, whenever you're getting into foundation, it does require a level of commitment.
Right.
So you have to commit to that style to a certain extent to be able to get the information you need, talk to the people you need to talk to, and pay respect and learn really about the culture that it's a part of. So like, say if I'm learning about hip hop, I'm learning about different artists. I'm listening to the music. I'm seeing how it affects the environment around me. I'm seeing where it came from.
Right.
Learning the history behind it, paying respect to the history by either learning about it or sharing it with people, knowing the different elements of hip hop, knowing what came before, knowing what came after. All this information kind of gives you more of a sense of what hip hop is, or what, where it came from, or gives you just more information to work from for yourself. Right. And in turn, kind of adds to your connection to it and your connection to the essence.
Right. And I was going to say that too. I guess when you really dive into the foundation of something, you can start to uncover that feeling that people feel, the reason why that style originated. You know, like there's always a backstory as to why something came into life and how it was able to evolve and adapt and grow, but it all started with a feeling, right? And it's like the more deeply you go into a foundation and the closer you get to the root, the closer you're going to be able to find that essence of what it is and bring that out in your dance. And it's kind of cool because...
And your personal connection to it.
Right. It really builds your journey as a dancer as well, right? Like when you dive into a foundational style. But if I say, because I agree, like people maybe have shorter attention spans or maybe they don't have enough time. But I think another big thing is like, say if I'm thinking about it right now and I want to dive into a new style, there's so much information out there. It's almost like too overwhelming for me to even like begin. Yeah, I mean, if I really, really want to, obviously I'll just start somewhere. But for you, if you were a brand new dancer wanting to take your advice and get... Okay, we'll continue this question in just a second. Okay, so back to the conversation. So, you know, wanting to dive into a foundation, and we have just like so much knowledge nowadays that we have like the internet, YouTube, we have a bunch of different events, classes, whatever it might be. What would you say to somebody who really wants to get into dance, maybe finds a certain style interesting that they want to pick up? Where would you tell them to start?
It's a hard question just because it depends on what you have available to you as well. Because like, say, for example, if somebody's watching a street performer,
right,
somebody's watching a battle or something like that, then I would kind of say go to the person you're watching. Because like they're enticing you for a reason. You like their style, you like what they're doing. They're most likely, depending on, because it also depends on their skill level, their understanding. Because you seeing it as a first time, you don't know anything about it.
Right.
They might be underdoing it rather than overdoing it.
Yeah.
Or performing it at a lower skill level, but they've at least, you actually have somebody as an example right in front of you that's doing what you want to do, and you have access to them because you're seeing them in person.
Right.
So now you can go up to them. They're most likely going to be cool.
Right.
And be like, hey, I'm thinking about getting into dance because I saw you and you're so amazing. I just thought you could help me as like a starting point, or know where to point me in whatever direction to get certain information. So like, if you're so bold, go up to that person that's inspiring you, especially if you see them in that moment. If they're on social media, you can send a message. If it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, hey, you tried.
Right.
Because it really just goes back to trying.
Absolutely.
It really just goes back to trying, because it's like, if you don't do anything, then you're just sitting there with that want and not acting on it.
Right.
And then becomes a fleeting moment rather than feeding into that interest.
Right.
But yeah, it could be asking that person that kind of ignited your fire for it. It could be just researching, seeing keywords maybe used in like a video that you watched as like a description, or as the title, and seeing what there is related to that. It really just like depends on what you have available to you and how you get introduced into it.
I think that's real. Like, that is some amazing advice, because I think if somebody really wants to get into something, but they don't necessarily know where to start, right? If I see a breaker that I really enjoy and I'm like, oh man, they're so awesome. Like, I want to get into breaking. I don't know where to start. Go to the person who inspired you, right? And like, that's what you did, right? And that right there, you can have someone as a quote unquote role model, right? You can analyze their movement. What do you like about that person? What is really engaging? Why did they pull you in? Why do you want to start breaking? And then you can go and kind of, hopefully if they've had if it's on social media or online, you can kind of see and look through their path, do some research on the person, see what you can find out about them. And then from there, that starting point then leads you down different things that you'll come across, right? You might look at this person and then all of a sudden get introduced to a crew. And now that you're watching this crew battle, and then, from there you look at events. From there you see one near you. And then all this stuff can kind of just domino effect, right? You start looking for these type of things in your life and they start to appear, right? If you want to get into breaking, I guarantee you, if you look into someone that you really admire, do a little bit of research, things will start to pop up in the area. You might walk in the mall and you see a breaker and you're like, oh, Floyd, bro, hey. But that's amazing advice, because I think you're right. A lot of people nowadays can get very overwhelmed with all the information, but it's just important to follow that little hook of curiosity and then go down that path.
And have the courage to do so, because it's just like, even if, say, I think in that perspective, we're speaking, if you're like starting from nothing,
right,
like completely no knowledge whatsoever, and you happen to come upon it, if you're playing with it already and looking for information as well, doing that same thing of going up to whoever you have available to you, but also putting yourself out there. Because I know a lot of us, when we start, we kind of reside to our homes, or our rooms, or some personal space, which is also fine, because like dance can be for you. You don't have to share it with the world. You can kind of just have it for your own personal time. But I think if you put yourself out there in different spaces, and it could be so general as being like a party, any type of event you go to, a family picnic or whatever that has like music, and you just want to get down, go ahead and get down, because just like you were attracted to that energy that drew you into dance, somebody else will be attracted as well. So it's like whether they end up being new, you have, boom, somebody to practice with if they ask you. Or they happen to be experienced, come through and be like, oh, dang, this person's getting down, I want to get down too. And I know I'm like, got some more skill on me. Boom, you have somebody to talk with, and now you've built a relationship where they can point you in a good direction, and you domino effect from there. Because like, even when I was in UNT, I was going from freshman year, I was going from high school to college, didn't know anybody on campus, wanted to find other dancers. I didn't start battling until 2012, December 2012. I think probably the 18th or the 19th. Or maybe the 15th.
You remember like the... that was actually one of my questions. I wanted to know what that first experience was like for you battling. Like, let's...
Man, I could get into it.
Dive into it.
I could get into it.
I've been stoked. Hey,
look. I love telling this story just because I never got to. Never really got to a lot. And now that I'm starting to, I'm just like, yes, I finally get to share.
Bro, I'm excited.
But it's like, so my experience with the Dallas dance scene specifically started, I would say, like as going to a first event, started in December of my freshman year. And I had learned about it through different dancers on campus. The way I got to those dancers, which also leads into people having the courage to put yourself out there. I went from dancing for myself in my room, listening to music and just moving, to dancing in the lobby of West Hall. And kind of garnered people's attention. They knew me as the dancing kid in the dorm room. And I had my own speaker. It was like it was meant for to be set down in a room and stay there. It was like a Skull Candy speaker. If y'all remember that brand.
Shout out Skull Candy.
Put a lot of people on for music.
Oh yeah, they did.
So I had that, and I took it everywhere with me. It was a plug-in, so I always had to have an outlet. Didn't really have money for like a portable speaker like that. Because I think this one was only like $60. Either 60
They had some
or 70.
really great price products.
I had the headphones and everything. The Skull Crushers.
All I think black. I had the little earbuds.
And then so I had that. I went down to the lobby of West Hall, would dance in there because it was more space. People would be cheering me on or leave me a note or something like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then I would move from there to not quite the Library Mall, but it was in between. It was like this tall concrete platform in between like Sage Hall and I think the Language Building or something like that. And people would be up there all the time. But whenever it was empty, I would go up there and have my own sessions. And then make my videos and everything. Like I got some old videos that are so cringe. I watch those videos back. I'm like, and I was like a dubstep kid. When dubstep came out and you saw pumped up kicks, you saw nonstop. It was game over. But I also
that man started a wave.
A whole wave, and he knows it too.
Absolutely.
But and other dancers as well and other styles. But made my dance videos up there. Was by myself. Eventually worked up the courage to start dancing in the Library Mall. So it was working my way up to those different environments and to be in a more public space. And like when I started going over there, plus when I started going to UPC events that had a DJ. I went to every one that had a DJ, and it was usually DJ question mark that was spinning for those events. And he would play the real good shit. Like he had a way of finding the clean music and still having it be dope that you could really still set off a party to. And like, so I would just, anytime that there was music, I would get down at those events. And naturally people start forming a crowd, be like,
Right.
oh, hey, that's that dude dancing over
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Dang. Oh, snap, he's getting down.
He's amazing.
And like building that circle. And eventually it got the attention of other dancers around campus, or at least people that were messing with it. I remember I went to that parents' day to where you bring your parents to campus.
Oh, yeah.
And you have like different performances and stuff. I think it was starting to be evening time or nighttime. I think it was Emerald City that came through the campus and was doing covers of different songs. And I went through, danced, started a circle, whatever was part of a circle. Little kids were dancing and everything. Yep. And my friend Ricky or Richard came through and he straight up battled me.
Yo.
And he went up to me and was just like, hey, I'm a dancer too. You want to battle? I was like, yeah.
This is your Pokemon moment, bro. Yeah. He said, oh.
I was just like,
let's
oh,
battle.
word, let's get it. Turn my hat backwards.
Let's get this shit. Let's get this shit. Let's get this shit. Let's.
But we went in through rounds, and he told me after, he was just like, oh, snap, this dude actually knows how to get down.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, I thought I was going to like stomp this dude.
Yeah.
Or something. I was like, no. I've experienced at least a little bit.
That was the moment that you were just like, oh, it's happening.
Yeah.
My moment.
My moment. It's here.
Let's go.
Oh my gosh. And like in the same event, it was that and my friend DJ or Darnell. People know him now as Darnell, but I used to call him DJ. Met him through UNT as well. And he was a cheerleader for the UNT like Eagles. And he would come through. He came through for the event because I think the cheerleaders had to come through or something. Or I think the band was coming through at one point, and he had stayed behind, and he started dancing maybe a little bit, but his biggest thing was flips and tricks. Yeah. Because he was hella strong. He used to be a gymnast, and he could throw them like nobody's business. And so he would do back tuck, and everybody would cheer. Oh my God. Hey, but flips, I looked at him, and I was just like, my brother taught me back tucks because he was a gymnast in the backyard when I was a senior in high school. So I was like, oh, word. I could do that too. Back tuck. And DJ turned around and was like, what? Somebody else could do a back tuck? All right, cool. And then he started showing round offs and shit. I was like, I can't do all that, but I'm going to get there.
But teach me.
Yeah. And so those were some of the first two friends that I made that were also dancers. Or DJ was getting into hip hop dance, or just dance in general, through that avenue. Before it was all flips, and then he slowly grinded down and got it real technical. Now he's crazy. I think even getting back into it now because he has a family and everything. He brought me to a lot of jams, a lot of sessions, a lot of parties. Because he's like, I think 2 years older than me. But hooked me up a lot of times with different rides because I didn't have a car until 2019. And so I had to figure out ways to get where I wanted to go. And in either situation, I was either in Denton or I was in Rowlett. Both of them far as fuck from Dallas.
Absolutely.
Horrible. And far from Plano as well. And it was... yeah, just asking friends, meeting new people. But I met them through my freshman year at UNT through that event. There was this organization called Something New that was a freestyle group or freestyle dance organization, just like anybody that wanted to come through and learn about dance and session and do whatever. Basically a session that got registered as an organization on campus. And it was, I think... dude's name was Andrew that hosted it. He's from Houston. He's back in Houston now. And I think he actually has a studio out there called, he kept the original name, Something New. And I was just like, wow, they still around.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Like, it was really cool. And you had people that were brand new. You had people that were experienced. And that's where I got more of my teachers from different styles and exposure. They were my exposure to the Dallas dance scene.
Wow.
Because they'd been in the battles.
Yeah.
And they were just like, hey, there's this battle called Battle for the Gifts at Calvary Church over in Irving, December, it was either 15th, 18th, or 19th of 2012. And I went. My dad took me. He came through from Denton to pick me up and take me to that battle over in Irving and stayed with me during that time as well.
Shout out Dad.
Shout out Dad. He was a real one. This man grinded to get me to these battles. Cause like I didn't have like 100% like support of just like, oh, we want to support you through all this, but they were willing to get me to where I wanted to go because they recognized that I had a strong interest in it. And so he was just like, I'll take you to this battle. We'll pay for you to get in and you can experience and get this experience and enjoy it. That battle was 10 hours long. We were there all day into the night because they had opening. They had the time to look at the different vendors. That's where you saw Loyal K&G.
Oh,
that was if y'all remember Loyal K&G, you're a real one. You've been around a while.
I have a picture in their crew neck and their little wooden.
The Goodwood chain. I like, hey, they said, oh yeah, try it on, take a picture and then whatever. Had the leopard hat, snapback or strap back. Tried on the chain. I remember I took a picture of myself in it. And did like when I was in art class at UNT, we had you would do a portrait of a picture of like a self-portrait. I did a picture drawing of that in charcoal and like real big. Came out nice too.
Hey, if you got a picture of it, send it and then we'll put it up right here.
Shoot, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it somewhere. But it was Loyal K&G. DJ Priest was on the ones and twos. That was all in the lobby of the church, and then you moved into the actual auditorium for the church. They emptied out all of the chairs, moved around everything. That's where I was seeing Valkyrie for the first time. When she was called Dancing Queen.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Her first, at least as far as I know, her first battle name was Dancing Queen. Or DQ. And
she's fire.
Freedom. That's the first time I saw him. Gifted. First time I saw him. Hitman. Back in like the early days. And he taught me how to start in bone breaking. And it was like, because he can do all that. Crazy angles and whatever. But he was like, hey, take a towel and just go back and forth and go closer and closer until it becomes easy. And then you lock your fingers, lock your hands. And then you go from there and try different positions.
I remember doing that in the shower with the washcloth.
Trying to pull it around. And then I was just like, this shit hurt.
I'm like, this can't be natural.
I was like, I'm going to put this down here. But he had put me onto that. That was when I first walked into the room, giant auditorium, because it was like the church. It was breakers everywhere because it was also a breaking event, and they had their open styles or all styles, which we can also talk about the differences between all styles and open styles as well, because there is a difference. But back in the day, it was like calling open styles all styles, and you just saw everybody in there getting down for ciphers, for sessions, in the corner practicing moves. And that was my first experience of like seeing a room full of breakers. Wow. Just really getting down and like doing, and they were strong, like, what's his name? I can think of his face, but I can't think of his name right now. But he was working on air flares. That was the first time I got to see air flares in person. Windmills at like perfection. Like everybody was top tier. And I was like, dang.
You said this is what's out here?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Like this is the real shit?
Yeah.
Okay, nah, I need to get into this. And then got into the battles. I remember I jumped in. I went in with a plan. I was just like, all right, if it's this type of music, I'm going to do this. This type of music, I'm going to do this. And I bombed. And I was like, I watched back the footage and I was like, why did I do that to this music? Because in the moment, it sounded like something else. And I was thinking too much to really recognize it and listen to it. So it messed me up. And I didn't pass prelims. And I was just like, but I didn't take it hard because I was just excited to be there.
To be there, yeah.
I was like, first battle, I'm just like, I just want to
go,
y'all.
yeah.
I just want to see y'all get down so I can learn and then get better.
Right.
And we stayed there the entire time from when they opened till when everybody left.
Wow.
And like 10 hours straight, my dad was there the entire time, took us back home. And he was blown away by everything because that was his first battle as well.
Wow.
And yeah, it was crazy.
It's wild that, you know, a lot of people will see you dance now. And, you know, as a judge, as somebody who wins competitions, who is extremely well known and looked up to in the Dallas scene, hearing your first battle where you went in and bombed, like a lot of people would have never thought that. A lot of people probably think like this man just always had
he just always had it.
He always came in and won, you know. But it's awesome to hear that too, because I bet after that point, all that did was just fuel you.
Yes. And especially because the battles were pretty much me being so far from Dallas. That was the only interaction that I had with the scene.
Wow.
A lot of other people that are in the scene now
right.
Had a constant interaction, whether it was in Plano, whether it was in Dallas, and had people to session with,
right.
had people to like experience, like they'll talk about, oh yeah, I had sessions with Storyboard P. I had sessions with John Doe. I had experiences with Exorcist in the early days. That was also that battle was the first time I met Exorcist.
Wow.
And like right after he won, or not won, but had his like viral moment on So You Think You Can Dance, and took a picture with him and everything. Was like I super excited. I still remember they had a big graffiti like wooden backdrop that somebody graffitied and said "Battle for the Gifts," and took a picture with different people. It was the first time I met Figment and all of like a good amount of Rock Solid.
Yeah,
like everybody was there. But what was it? It was. Hold up. I think I got a little distracted.
Yeah, I was lost in the story. I was like, man, like you had Rock Solid there. You had all these people that you were taking pictures with at the event.
It was a real moment of just like, being in, checking out the scene, being in touch with everybody and getting to experience them. Oh, that's what it was. But I really took advantage of the time I had either by myself or when I was with people that I was meeting over in Denton, because the only interaction that I had with the scene was was at battles. Right. So I didn't go to a lot of the sessions or whatever. So every time that I went to a battle, I was excited to be there. I was excited to talk to people. Right. I wanted to ask questions from the judges. Every time I lost, I asked two main questions. I was like, what could I have done to take that round, and what could I do better in general? And I asked that consistently after every loss. I went up to the judges and was just like, those two questions, are great questions, and what can I do? Yeah. And I would take that information, go back home, and work on practice. Drill it. And for me, like practicing was just fun because I just wanted to do it. Yeah. And do it at any time that music was playing. So like we were putting in hours over at the library mall. I was putting in hours in my room. But it was also just fun to move, so I didn't really think about it as practice. Right. Then whenever a certain amount of time passed and we got to the next battle, it was that time to go back again. And I tried to go back as often as possible because it was just like, because it was not as accessible to me, I wanted it even more. Right. And
took advantage of every single moment, every single battle, every interaction.
Exactly. And so like it was almost a jump in what like the realization for everything too. of like things that would click. First battle, I thought too hard about it. Second battle, I was like, I'm not gonna make the same mistake again. And granted, it was also months after,
right?
Because it was like from Battle for the Gifts in December to later on, I think in the spring,
okay,
or the summer. But do you remember? No, you remember the grind.
Oh, of course I remember the grind. I think that's where I that's the first time I ever saw you get down.
Yeah,
and that
was my second battle ever, and it was.
That was your second battle?
That was my second
with
battle.
The Black Eyed Peas song?
Yes. That was my second battle ever. Because it was, I had been listening to the Black Eyed Peas. And like MTV Jams was my shit.
Man.
So I watched their music videos every time they came up. I knew the songs. Anytime it would come on the radio, I was right in there. So when I had the chance to dance to it in prelims, I went off.
Oh my gosh.
And I stopped. I took my advice that I gave to myself from the last battle. Don't think too much.
Yeah.
Just go.
Yeah.
Let the
Just
music
dance.
take you. Be confident in what you have already and just enjoy the moment.
Wow.
And that song came on and it became, also it helps to like have a song that you know, because it becomes real easy to just let go and get in that moment.
It's crazy that was your second battle, because that was a huge changing moment for me as a dancer, because the grind, I think, was my first jam I had ever been to. And I can literally picture that round so vividly. Like I know you did something here with the B, and then you said, do it. Okay. And I was like, I just remember seeing that and being absolutely like, I have to battle. I have like, dance is it. Like and I remember leaving that, and me and the crew like could not stop talking about that moment, because it was one of the coolest. When you see that in real life, you know, someone just embodied the music. It's the craziest thing ever.
Yeah.
All right, pause. Reset this. Or just reset the camera. So yeah, that like seeing that battle and seeing you just do it. Okay. And I was just like, that man is crazy. Like, that man is so good. And that was your second battle.
Yeah. And it was wild because like I went back and found some footage from that battle. I ended up, I think, losing to Freedom. And so that was the first time I had battled Freedom. And it was either in, I want to say top 8 or top 16 that I ended up losing. So I went from prelims to top 8 or top 16.
Wow.
In that amount of time. But it was a shift in mindset.
Right.
It was having fun with my process, even though I was training, really diving into it and really enjoying it, to where the understanding just kind of grew as like by default.
It's like you gain that trust in yourself. And that was probably a very freeing moment, because I'm sure from originally, you know, say bombing in prelims, and then months of practicing, and you probably had a little bit of like, all right, like this is the next time to go. But then just saying like, I gotta trust myself. And the fact that you trusted yourself and you got those results, that was probably just like all right, now I'm here to dance. Like, you know, you kind of just get rid of all that pressure and you're back into it.
Yeah. And it was a great feeling. Also had people from FSA there. Because I think Chris Lay came through, Kirsty came through, Soli came through. Saw a lot of same thing from the last battle. Saw a lot of the breakers from the scene there, but it was mostly like the TIE fighters, like Take It Easy. Floyd was there, I'm pretty sure. Zhao, I believe Choi was there, but I'm not sure. But yeah, that was crazy. It was like in the early days, because that was 2013. I'm pretty sure that was 2013.
It had to. I was definitely still in high school.
Yeah.
So I want to say it was probably 2013 or so.
Got you.
Yeah. And I remember also, like, a side note too. You're the person who got me into choreo block.
Yeah.
And it's so wild because, you know, you were dancing at the library mall, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy that everything aligns, right? Because if you never would have moved to the library mall, I would have never met you in person.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember walking back from class. It was like a night class. It's probably like 8 or 9 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And I'm walking back to a friend who's staying at a dorm because I was commuting. I was just gonna stay at his place.
Gotcha.
And I'm like walking back, and then I see you getting down in the library mall. And I'm like, oh my God, that's TSOUP. Holy shit. And I was like, I'm just gonna go say what's up. And I can remember, I was like, hey man, you know, like I know you from the scene. I've seen you battle. And you're like, oh yeah, I noticed you, like, you're a b-boy, right? And I was like, yeah, you know, like I b-boy and stuff. And you're like, hey, let's get down. And I was like, okay, man. Put my bag down. So that's actually the same day I met Nick Scott too.
Oh wow.
And he came in there, boom, boom, boom. But then I remember you said, like, hey, they, you know, I'm part of, you know, FSA. Choreo Block is a dance team. They're having auditions. You should go. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, cool. And my understanding was I would just have to go freestyle a dance or like break dance. Which like is a whole nother choreography. Story. And I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. But it's crazy that that's where, like, I met you. Mm-hmm. And that's where, like, everything kind of transpired. Because from there, like, so much shifted. And it was all, like, all these little decisions led up to those moments.
Yeah.
My God. It's so crazy to reflect on that.
That's what I'm telling people. If you're starting into it, just take a chance. You might be... looking to meet somebody,
right,
or have somebody meet you,
yep,
to put them on into what they're interested or their growing interest, or to add to the community that you're a part of,
right?
And like you could affect anybody at any moment.
That's how crews form. That's how friendships happen. I mean, at one point I remember in high school, I had met Alfredo and I met a couple other people, and we started a crew. Yeah, none of us had really like that type of dance experience, but we started a crew together. Yeah. I remember Dakota, I was trying to convince him for the longest time to b-boy, and he was like, nah, bro, I don't want to do it. Finally got him in, but like someone who didn't dance at all. Yeah. Getting them in, and that's how you really just, you have to create it yourself. You have to create yourself, you know what I'm saying? Like,
look at it.
It is what it is. Like, whatever you want, you got to go out, and that energy and those people will show up in your life, right? Like, I think they said, there was this quote that said, the second you start learning, teachers start to pop up. And it's until you decide, I am going to learn, that these teachers will come out of nowhere. Yep. And they'll begin to teach you, because that's what people are there for, is to help guide you and give you wisdom and put you on, and because everybody wants that person for them, you know?
Exactly.
Man.
It all just pops up. It all just happens. It manifests. Yeah. Comes into your life some kind of way. And like even with what choreo block. Yeah. What was dancing, same thing. Dancing around campus. What my dorm knew that I danced, so they had me on the team for Yell Like Hell. Wow. To rep their dorm in the RA like section or whatever. Then there was like this giant, I guess, free for all, or we know it now as a cypher, basically on this stage where everybody could come up and dance, and for that last bit of Yell Like Hell. And it was back when it was held in the auditorium rather than outside. And I forgot which auditorium, but it was in there. And I went up there, started to break. I remember I had like this brown domo hat on. Yeah. A shirt that said #West. And because our performance was like real simple. Right. I didn't even get to choreograph it. It was like somebody who had like maybe more like contemporary experience, but she was related to dance in some kind of way. So it was like, hey, you get this responsibility. And we were like, all right, we're going to go out here and do this. Down. And then, so I did my thing in that cypher and saw Chris Lay and a few other people in choreo block. And he had come up to me and was just like, hey, you should be in FSA. And it wasn't called choreo block at the time. It was just FSA. and said that they had a dance team. Joined that fall in 2012, and then joined the dance team in 2013 and performed with them for Goodfill.
Wow.
And I think my first Goodfill was San Antonio. So yeah, we were at UTSA, and back when they had, if y'all remember, like the shirts, like the event shirts for it that they had for every event or every year. This one was like blue shirt with white and yellow text.
Yeah. Those Goodfill shirts are iconic. Every year.
Yep.
Every year.
And then like you had, of course, like the organization shirts and everything.
Yep.
Since I also did graphic design, I started designing shirts for. Really? Yeah. Started designing shirts for FSA. If you ever saw the one that's like, it's like the Filipino sun on the chest, UNTFSA in green, and then it had an eagle with the wings.
Hey, no sir. Come here.
You good, fam?
Yeah.
You good? Is there a ghost over there? Tell me something.
Yeah, right?
We can get out real quick.
He be doing that.
All right, bet.
Dang. But the eagle?
Yeah, it had the eagle wings on the side and the nose was pointing down. I know the girls always made the comment, they're like, why is it pointing at my crotch? Or why is it pointing down? I'm like,
it wasn't intentional.
Like, I didn't even think about that. Come on, leave me alone.
Just a design, please.
But it filled up like the whole shirt. Yeah. I still got it at the house.
Yeah.
Like, I kept all the shirt designs I did for FSA and specifically for Choreo Block. I kept as much as I could.
Yeah.
And
so we've covered a good amount of the dance portion of things, and you brought up graphic design, which is a really good segue into your other like very prominent passion, which is graphic design and art. So how did you get into that?
So I've been taking art classes probably since like 6th grade in middle school. I still remember classes from like my first teacher, the different types of projects we would learn. We would learn the basics about art and like drawing, of like the different principles and the different elements, and just built that skill over time. And it was like different projects of put an object up, draw that, put another object up, draw that, make some kind of thing out of clay, like all kinds of little side projects for art class. But I really always stuck to drawing and like drawing in value and drawing shadows, and really just working with a pencil. Right. So like anytime they were just like, oh, we're going to do markers, we're going to do pen, we're going to do whatever else. I was like, I want to draw with a pencil. I like this best.
No thanks.
And like, oh, we're going to do color. I'm like, it looks cooler in black and white. Yeah.
Rather not add color.
And like, because I always like the detail stuff, and I try to get it as realist looking as possible. So even in like, high school, the level, we were in IBR class. So like I went from middle school, building up like my skills from 6th to 8th grade. Then in high school, we went to a high school day, kind of like a college fair day, but they had it for high schools, and they had Rowlett High School that I was trying to get into because it was the closest one, but they were filled up. The lady was at the table just on her phone and had a few pamphlets there and was just like, oh, sorry, we're full already, so we're fine. And then we moved to Garland High School, and they had the IB International Baccalaureate program. And so they had different
like programs or
different studies, subjects, different subjects available for that program. And so like I did the one for art. Right. Some kids would go in and be like the super smart ones that wanted to be in like the best colleges or whatever. They were like, oh, I'm going to take all IB art classes. And they hated their lives.
Oh, I bet.
Because they had so many like advanced projects,
assignments,
homework all the time. They didn't have like a social life at all. And I was just like, hey, I hope y'all get a lot out of this because that's too much to be doing in high school.
I'm just trying to enjoy it.
Yeah. And like, so we had, that was the only IB IB class that I took. Enjoyed my teacher, Miss Thompson. Held it down. My best art teacher since like ever.
Shout out Miss Thompson.
Like I even went back like when I was in college and after college to go see her.
Dang.
And she's hella cool.
That's awesome.
Like she would even let me she would let students come through that were in her class during lunch period to come have lunch in her art room. Yeah.
Those are the best teachers, man. They make the biggest difference in the world.
Mm-hmm. They really, like, she made her classroom a vibe and made everybody feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And just made that space for people if they were really passionate about it. So I might be catching up on a project. I might be just going to chill there for lunch, or just pop in to say, hey. She would let me play music on the little computer speakers.
Yeah.
And so I was taking over the aux since high school, son.
You've always had to give music.
Had that for art class. And yeah, I just loved her class. But you had to get into that program for Garland, you had to make a portfolio of different pieces and send it in. I think my dad told me a whole story of how like they gave him that information late, and so we rushed to make that portfolio and then sent it in, got accepted.
Wow.
And then finally made it in, and they were I think her and another art teacher at the high school was my letters of recommendation into UNT.
Wow.
So yeah, it ended up really cool into UNT and other schools that I was applying to.
And so you did graphic design at UNT?
So I did just a regular art major.
Okay.
Because I tried to keep close to graphic design as close as possible. So a lot of it ended up being on my own, just because I had the intention to do it in my freshman year. Little did I know they had a portfolio review you had to go through your freshman year to get. So they kind of saw it as a program that you had to work to get into.
I see.
And it was, your portfolio was based off of projects you did in your different art classes, and the review was done by either one of the teachers or one of the, I think, assistant teachers that they had at UNT. They reviewed your portfolio and then gave you a score and see if you would make it into the program the following semester to really start the work. Other than that, we were still able to take like an intro to graphic design class, which was a lecture. And then that was probably the most that I got. And then I didn't pass that first portfolio review, tried the next year, didn't pass it again. Because since you used your classes to fill that portfolio, the second year I didn't have those classes anymore. So it was completely on me to just think of something to put into the portfolio. So I was like, okay, well, I still want to. And at that time, I had an initial counselor at UNT for my first year. Then she had left, and I was left without a counselor for a good amount of time. So nobody to give me direction on like, hey, these are other possibilities you can get into based on your interests. So I kind of just ended up picking one, which was interdisciplinary arts and design. Little did I know there's tons of art history classes.
Oh no!
Rather than actual art classes, to where you're in practice doing what you want to do.
Right.
So, not finding that out until later, I took a whole bunch of art history classes, and then was writing more papers than I was doing projects. So I ended up just finding anything that I could do that actually gave me practice with those skills. Right. So I ended up taking a lot of figure drawing classes. I ended up doing, I think, a ceramics class my either sophomore year, or it might have been my spring semester of my freshman year or something like that. But I ended up trying to find any and all extra art classes that I could get my hands on, and my eventual counselor hooked me up to be able to find those classes.
Nice.
So like the closest thing I got to was like the new media class. That was basically you go to a computer lab and then you do work. And so that's where I had more experience with the Adobe suite.
Right.
And so Photoshop, Illustrator, and also InDesign.
Nice.
And like, especially InDesign when I was doing, because we eventually got, with my new counselor, she had it to where I got my minor in advertising. And so that gave me a field to where I can get creative as well, because they had a creative advertising class to where that required Adobe Suite and different programs, but also drawing and working your brain for how to create ads, how to create full page spreads or half page spreads in magazines or something like that.
That's cool.
So it was like getting some type of creative work and creative exercise in those fields. And so it was, those were the two main areas to where I can mess with Adobe and mess with Illustrator specifically for graphic design.
Wow.
But yeah, and I held on. I didn't get much from those.
Right.
As much as I got after and now, of like, because we have YouTube, we have everything under the sun, and just constantly until I got my own tools to be able to practice anytime that I want. But what I did get from there, I held on to for the longest time. For sure. And just put it into any projects that I could for either choreo block or FSA. Rest in peace to Kevin Cow. I did the event shirts for his funeral, because one of our friends that was actually in choreo block, his name is Kevin Cow, he had passed, and yeah, that was a hit. Yeah, because that was the first time I experienced losing somebody that I was that I knew personally, that was like around the same age as me.
Right. Yeah,
and he was part of FSA. He was part of choreo block. He was teaching me windmills, because after high school, because he was also a breaker. Taj Tanjim knows from DSC. He knows him and grew up with him and broke with him and everything. So that was, that was a time. But I also like did the shirts for his funeral. Drew him as a cow in like a nurse's outfit, because he was a nurse. He actually didn't go to UNT. He actually went to TWU.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, so that was right next door, and he would just come over to this campus and then do FSA. Yep. So it was real cool.
I've always loved that, how TWU and UNT have like a really good relationship with UNT kind of brings all the TW people in and creates one environment. But yeah, that's awesome. And so that it's really unique that you've gotten to really showcase your graphic design and art through so many different events and so many different things that you've been able to put into. Whenever you were asked to do these type of things, did you ever feel like any type of pressure, or were you just more so just very excited to have the opportunity?
It was both, because I was excited to put to practice what I was learning, but you also had that pressure of just like, are they gonna like it? Is it gonna be good enough? Also, if they had a deadline, and am I gonna be able to finish it by this deadline with also homework? And other responsibility. Not that we had a lot of responsibilities as college kids, but also homework took up a lot of time.
It really did.
If you were like on your shit, it took up a lot of time.
Or if you were procrastinating, it also took a lot of time.
Yeah. Then you had to crank out a whole paper in like an hour. Yeah. Right before oh man. I remember I did I have this skateboard that I painted for an art class. I think it's gonna sound bad because I was doing this in my senior year. But it was for a color theory class, but they had us painting skateboards. And I was like, oh shit.
That's sick.
It was gonna be great. We had they had somebody in the class had the hookup to getting skateboards for like wholesale, and so we bought them from them and then just customized it. I did it right. I had the idea, Then I did it right before that class. Same day, woke up super early and just went
Knocked
to work.
it out. You still have it?
Yeah, it's sitting in my room with like some big kendamas around it, and it was of this like orange monster with like 2 mouths that was sleeping. Real funky design.
Yeah.
And I had a drawing that I did at first in color pencil, and I was like, I'm gonna do this because we were talking about like the different color schemes and how to implement that into the composition that you're drawing in. And so it was trying to figure out a color scheme, and I think it was a tetratic color scheme or something like that, to where you had 4 colors in that color scheme, and you had to interact with them. Only use those 4 colors
Interesting.
in your,
That's
in your
cool.
piece. And so like I think mine was like orange, or like indigo and purple, or purple, green and red, and had to make that work in the composition. And so I fixed the colors to where the monster was orange, the lips were red, the blanket he was in was green, and his background, just to show that it was nighttime, was purple.
Wow.
Or that deep purple.
That's freaking cool.
And it came out pretty dope. I even like was on the way back from the class to my dorm and was holding it in a bag, so you can kind of, and it was like the see-through bag.
Yeah.
So you can see it as you're passing by. And I was passing some skateboarders that were like filming tricks or something when I was going to my dorm, and they saw it and it was just like, "Hey, is that a skateboard? Oh, sick! What is that?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh yeah, I painted this like for my class." Dude, you could actually like design skateboards and stuff. Like, I would buy that.
Yeah.
This is sick.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn,
an opportunity.
idea.
Yeah. Dang, and that's crazy because honestly, I want to talk about FOMO Feels a little bit because I mean, that could be an awesome skateboard brand too. But if you guys don't know, he is the creator of FOMO Feels, which this is, got to show y'all real quick. FOMO.
On the back, you know what I'm saying?
Are there still hoodies left?
Yes, there's still.
Y'all need to cop one of these hoodies. This is one of my favorite hoodies. Not only is it extremely comfortable, but this is probably my most complimented. I wear a lot of hoodies. This is my most complimented hoodie, time after time. Like I will be walking, I'm like, "Hey man, I really like your hoodie." I'm like,
sick.
"Oh dang!" So if I want compliments, I wear this hoodie. If you want compliments, you should also wear this hoodie. Available at
FOMOFeels.com.
Let's get it, baby.
Listen to the man.
And let me make sure we get some, because I want to back at it again. All right. So talking about FOMO Feels, because I love this brand. Like it is truly something special, and there's an amazing story behind it. So tell us a little bit about FOMO Feels.
So with FOMO Feels, it originated from a character called FOMO, which was that acronym, fear of missing out. Basically paying attention to how I felt throughout middle school, throughout high school, college, into now, of not wanting to miss out on an opportunity, not wanting to miss out on hanging out with friends, with literally anything, of like meeting people, going to a birthday party, being part of a talent show, like anything I could think of that I wanted to go to and experience. I didn't want to miss out on that. And that just followed me out throughout my life. And it's still like prevalent today. To where like if I miss a battle,
it's like,
oh man, that's why you see me at almost every single battle.
I always know I'm gonna see you there, like literally always.
Exactly, because I'm just like, I can't. If somebody posts something to where it's just like, oh yeah, we had a great time, I'm gonna be like,
oh,
bro,
man.
I should have been there. I should have been there. I had the opportunity. I decided not to. I'm stupid. But really building on that idea and creating like a characterization of that idea of FOMO. And that character kind of was built out of trying to create a caricature of myself. So like what I was always going through different ways of drawing myself as a cartoon, but in a way that you could recognize it was me,
right?
Even though it was in a cartoon manner,
right?
But still making it animated, still making it silly. That way I could use it in different ways.
Sure.
And it was just really hard to try to nail that down. So and that came from also like trying to create different characters. So it was 2017. I was going through some body issues that I had, and it's still, I don't know if the disease is still there, but they told me it was in remission, which is ulcerative colitis. And I was bedridden for about like 3 months.
Okay. Yeah.
But I was bedridden for like 3 months. I had some issues before then that kind of like led into it, I guess, because I would have some stomach pains, because essentially it's an inflammatory bowel disease, and it would inflame like my colon and my intestines and insides to where I couldn't eat. It attacked my joints to where it was starting in one ankle, went to another ankle, my right knee, my left elbow, left hip, up in my collarbone here, a little bit in my hands and in my jaws and in my neck a little bit, but pretty much kept me from being able to move. And it was building up my movement from going from dancing, being able to go to work, being able to go to school or whatever, to ground zero.
Right.
Of like it, and it was not only hindering my movement, but causing a lot of pain in my joints, because they would swell, be filled with some type of like liquid. I remember the doctor drew it out one time when I was hospitalized for like 5 days. And it was like this yellowish type of thick liquid to where you couldn't see through it.
Wow.
So that was what was building up in my joints.
Yeah.
And they gave me different medications, which also brought different side effects of like acne that would come up all over my body. And I would keep track of where it was showing up. It was extra swelling when I started to eat again and gain weight. It brought on extra swelling on top of that, to where I went from when I was first in bed and immobile, going from looking pretty much anorexic to like starting to be overweight, because I started to gain weight in my face. I remember I did a FaceTime with some of my friends, and they literally were just like, whoa,
like, what's happening? Yeah.
Like, you good? You okay? Because yeah, you look like you put on some weight, dog. And yeah, so I had like all the side effects from it and everything. But during that process of just being able to get up and get back to basic movements,
right,
it was when I finally got up and sat up, I got right to drawing, because I wanted to be able to keep busy. I wanted to be able to do something while I wait to get better.
Right.
And as soon as I was able to, sat up, started drawing, kept myself occupied, watched YouTube videos, watched whatever. But I followed a challenge called Inktober in 2017. And I had been doing it before, but this one was real special because I had the time to do it. I finished all the way through, and it was keeping me on it, even though I was still recovering. Yeah. And it was prompt every day for the whole month of October. So you had a prompt that could have been any type of word, and you had to make a drawing out of it. And I put the added challenge for myself to create a character out of it.
That's awesome.
And then that's where that kind of warm up began, of like creating a character, trying to make one for myself, and leading into FOMO. But yeah, create a character, put streetwear on it, because that was also an interest of mine, or still is. And really work out those ideas every single day and see if I could keep up with it. Sometimes I would fall behind, and I would try to catch back up to where, like, say I fall behind 3 days, then to catch back up, I had to make 3 different characters in that same day, and I grinded it out. and then eventually reached it, finished. And because it's a challenge that keeps you consistent, you keep that same energy throughout the year, and that want to create and that want to draw. So I kept up the drawing, even through when I was recovering and when I was able to actually sit up, and get back to standing, get back to dancing, get back to everything. And like, going into 2018, just started a new job, and just had this, I remember I was at home and I had this epiphany of like, what if I had a character, that it kind of represents me, but could also be a general figure. A major inspiration for me was KAWS, KAWS, Brian Donnelly, the artist. He had started, I want to say, in like the 90s doing graffiti. And
wow,
he was,
really?
Yeah, doing graffiti around New York because he was from New York. And he would do it on billboards. He would do it on like advertisement magazine inserts, like say covers you would put in at like a bus stop or a station or something before. Now there's a glass screen in front of it so you can't get to it.
Right.
But before, it was the actual case that you could open and people would change out the marketing or the ad. So he would go in, take the ad, take it home, paint on it, put it back up. Wow. And he would have, usually it was his bendy figure, but each of his figures had X's over the eyes and like the bone heads.
So awesome.
And it was crazy, like, just the ideas he would come with, how he expanded and how he was an example of taking street art to being considered as fine art. Wow. And being in museums, being in spaces that were more so respected amongst artists and amongst the general public as well. So like that really inspired me, and especially when he really got accepted by like streetwear and his KAWS figurines for the companions, and how those really just like popped off. What different artists messed with them, different brands did collabs with them. Like he's done so much to where he's done it all over the world. And when I thought of FOMO, kid you not, it was like an epiphany that just shot into my mind to where like this idea and this character could be as big as KAWS, if not bigger. And I was just like, I have to act on this. I've got to do something with this. And it was a figure. I was trying to make it look myself, but then it turned into a more general figure. Because I couldn't get myself as a character right. So I just went way left. And it was just like all black skin. I'm talking like black as this table. Yellow eyes. Big yellow eyes that would be like a good portion of his head. And this just blank stare. Wow. The blank stare was kind of modeled after myself whenever I would zone out or be thinking too much or be thinking about a whole bunch of things at one time. So a lot of times if I'm thinking, I'm like, just like this, mouth is slight. And I was looking at details of like mouth slightly open, still closed at the sides, and just this blank stare of eyes being wide open. So I was like, let me see if I can translate that through this character as well. And so that's why he has the expression that he does. Wow. Now I experiment with his expressions now just to give him a little bit more personality. But that's why usually I stick with that as like a staple face or a staple expression for him. And a lot of people think with the eyes that it's like shades or something because of the way the shine is on his eyes. Those are his actual eyes. Those are not shades. I happen to have shades that are yellow to try to mimic him because at the time I had the flat top. So I was just like, I'm going to have him have the flat top. I'm going to dress him in different streetwear to keep that interest around. And then, but yeah, that's where that came from. And like, put him for as far as like compositions, because I start in his main use, not use, but his main way he's expressed is in artwork rather than the clothing. Because that's where I feel like the message is put into more and more important, and the best way I can translate it.
Sure.
For different either events, for different ideas, for different messages that I'm trying to get across, and then be able to talk about those messages.
Yeah.
Those are the pieces that are meant to eventually get to fine art galleries, auctions, wherever, be put up in houses or what have you. But those are like the concrete ideas. Then as a byproduct, I wanted to be able to get into streetwear. I was like, what if I made my own staple in the streetwear?
Yeah.
What if we put them on a shirt? What if we put them on a sweatshirt, hoodie? Before I was just putting them on everything.
Right.
So like a lot of how I started was customs.
Yeah, I remember that. He has the shoes.
The shoes,
like a
green
jean,
jacket.
Yeah.
I had like a jean jacket that I customized first, with him on real big on the back. Then I did a second one that I ever customized was like the Gimme That Soup.
Oh,
design.
yeah.
Yeah. And that was on like a shirt that I got from like Rue 21, which I don't really like the shirt anymore, but I like the design. So that's the only reason I keep it around. And then the third one after that was another FOMO one on the back of this green kind of thin green trench jacket or coat that came out really cool, where his eyes, he had the expression of his eyes and like the outline of his mouth in white, and then tears running down, and in the middle this kind of like plant emoji that I use a lot to represent growth.
Wow.
And so like that was one jacket that like had more meaning to it, of like, hey, here's a starter to like the type of expressions or the type of meaning that I can put with FOMO or pair with FOMO, or the growth that he's chasing after, the opportunity of growth that he doesn't want to miss out on, and how like everybody else can relate to that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like a lot of times if you see that plan emoji in there, that's usually the reason it's there. And like and it can go into canvas pieces. Like I have 2 canvas pieces now. I have another one, but Mikey Flex has that one hanging up because he was a real one, was one of the first supporters, and like stayed true to the journey and the brand,
for sure,
and like just the ideas that I was putting out. And yeah, I was just messing with everything, where it was canvas pieces, streetwear, painting on that, doing custom shoes, which is also still available on the website as well.
What size?
Stickers. It could be any size. I would ask like, because essentially I get a Air Force One, all white, and I ask for the shoe size. I go and get the shoe size myself, and then I paint it and send it to you.
Wow.
And it starts as an all white blank Air Force One.
That's crazy.
And then I just use Angela's paint, take my time in doing the different layers.
Yeah. I
use a matte paint, so it gives a real cool texture to it.
Yeah.
And like clear coat on top just to make sure it stays sealed in. And it just came out real clean. And I was just like, damn. Nah, everybody needs these.
Yeah, right?
People was gonna fuck with this.
Oh, yeah.
And then when everybody saw it, they were like, oh, dope. But I think my marketing wasn't the best when I first started. So when I put it out, I was just like, all right, it's here. Got some traction.
Yep.
And then after a while, it died down. And I was just like, hey, it's still here.
Yeah.
Nobody even remembers that I did that shoe.
Yep.
I was like, well, guess my marketing was just trash.
I feel like that's the hardest thing about building a brand. Is like, as an artist, you want to focus on the art, you want to focus on the main things and building the product itself, but then the marketing piece is so important, right? And it's like, sometimes you feel like, I don't want to push this out so much where it's annoying, but what is the proper way to do that? And I really, really love that you did for a while, which I still remember, was you kept posting on your story all the items that were available. You kept posting. And it kept updating. And I think what that does is you notice the consistency, and it keeps popping in. So then when you pop on and you see it, you're reminded, and then it kind of sticks in your head. Yeah. And then you're like, I do want this. And then say like that day maybe you can't afford it, and then 2 weeks later you get paid. If that is the thing I see now, I'm like, oh, I can get that now.
Yeah.
And then I like that's how I bought mine.
Exactly. Because it's like, it was exactly that.
Yep.
It was wondering, okay, if I were to keep something in mind, how do I see it? How do I think about it? I see all these other brands keeping up with their advertising.
Yep.
I didn't always have the money to pay for Facebook advertising or pay for Instagram advertising. So I did that consistently for a little bit to where it did it for me. But then when I didn't have the money, I was like, okay, I have to do this myself. If I can't think of a caption, if I can't think of anything else, I can at least repost it on my story.
For sure.
So I'm going to just post up what I have available and just keep on posting it either every day or every other day or at least once a week, to where it keeps it in people's minds. And they, even if they like, say people, if they're going through somebody's story, they're not really looking.
Right.
They're just like tap through, through, but they'll see those products consistently in a row because they got to tap through all of them.
Yep.
And it's just like, okay. Oh, dang, I saw that again. Oh, I saw that again. Oh, yeah, he does make this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he is an artist. Oh,
Yep.
yeah, he does have merch.
Yep.
And then just that constant reminder until they get one.
Yeah.
Or at least to be able to share or something like that.
Absolutely.
So it was really staying on it. And I've kind of fallen off now because my intention is to keep on doing that still, to keep that idea in people's minds. So yeah, that shit is hard. Marketing by yourself as a creative is hard.
It is hard.
Just anything as a creative where you're creating and you have to turn it into a business yourself and become an entrepreneur, and you got to keep up with all of it, taxes, with marketing, with communication between, say, because I also do like graphic design commissions, keeping up with clients, keeping up with projects.
It's a lot.
It's just like, plus time to create, plus time to think of ideas,
plus the energy and the creative energy you need to create. That's not just something you sit down, I have 2 hours, boom, let me knock out a new concept. Like
unless you're in like I feel like when you can do that, that's if you're in constant practice every day, and you've already worked up to that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting there
is the hard part.
Is hard.
Yeah. That ability to live in the moment and to allow an idea to live and to continue to create, that's such, how do you think you get to that level? Like, what is it?
It's getting comfortable. It's really just getting comfortable with enjoying the process, because you can do it at any level.
Yeah.
Whether you're super skilled or still learning, it's just allowing yourself to be in that moment. Because like a kid could be drawing a picture, don't have some crazy, not some young genius, not crazy level or whatever. They're just drawing and they're enjoying their time. And then over time, as they get more of an understanding in what they're doing, they begin to create even more and becomes a little clearer in what they're producing. But they're enjoying the process. They're enjoying that zone of just being able to draw that picture, and then something eventually comes out of it that's amazing. It's kind of that same level whenever we're in our dance. It's that same level whenever we're in whatever creative outlet. I know MJG talks about it all the time, and what he's personally gotten back to was tapping back into that mindset of being a child.
Ah, man, I love that concept.
And like now what's possible for him has just grown to everything. So now he's not even it could be in a battle. It could be in a performance. It could be in a public space. It could be in an intimate space. It doesn't matter to him. It's just like he's enjoying the process. And he's wondering if it has to be in a public space. He's wondering, all right, how can I bring this feeling of wonder? How can I bring this feeling of being in a childlike mindset to other people in my performances? So he'll create or structure his performances in a certain way, and it's been real cool because like I remember he did it at the Renaissance that Athena threw, I think last year. And I was wondering like, oh, is he going to do like a regular showcase to where puts on a song and dances to it and does some like, cause he's into animation, popping and Memphis juking. And he changed it up. He came out talking first. And we were like, okay, where is this going? But it was an explanation of tapping into that childlike mind and how anybody can use that. Not even just creatives.
Wow.
But like anybody to be able to enjoy a moment, to be able to tap in to that state of wonder and be able to connect to their inner child. And he created a performance out of that. Wow. And he would dance as he was doing it, and how he combined the two of what he was talking about with how he danced and how he structured everything was fantastic.
I wish I could see this.
I don't know if they still have the video. It might be, if Athena has a YouTube.
It'd be on there.
Yeah, it's probably on there. Yeah, it has to be somewhere out there, but it was top notch.
And I think that is really what it boils all down to at the end of the day, right? It's the essence of a feeling. And as kids, we don't have too many thoughts or constructs or whatever it might be, right? Of what something should be, or what it should look like. It just is. And it's just a very natural, raw form of expression that with foundation and with structure can help it become more translatable and read towards something else. But it's so important to remember that the essence and that childlike nature of why you're doing it, right? Because when a kid is like, Mom, I want to draw, it's probably not because they're like, because I have a business thing to make, or I want to do this specific. They just want to draw. Yeah. You know, like when I was a kid, I remember, you know, like, Mom, just give me a piece of paper and a pen. Like I just want to draw. I just would sit there and just feel so awesome to create something, right? And I think the more that we allow ourselves to tap into that, but leave room for that foundation and that structure and accept it, if you can bridge those two together, that's where you can create something truly beautiful, not just to yourself, but to other people as well. But it's always so hard to blend those two, because when you want to live so much in the moment, but you also have things to think about, detaching, untaching, making everything work in tandem is often a bit difficult or overwhelming to some people. Yeah.
And it's just consistency that allows you to become more comfortable with it, or still be able to create in those confined spaces of rules, of politics, of whatever. You still have a space to do your thing, at least as much as you can. But yeah.
Dang, man, you've been dropping some absolute gems. I wanted to start, you're the first guest I've ever asked this to, and I was supposed to be asking this question, but to leave us off, what do you feel like for yourself? How have you created yourself?
I think I've created myself through the idea of just continuing and being in the moment. I think about the future. I think about the past like everybody else. I think about the present, but I'm really connected to the present of being just in this moment, of being able to talk with you, of like, say, if I'm in a battle, I'm living in that moment of being in that round of listening to that music and reacting the way I do. If I'm drawing a picture, I'm zoned out or zoned into the process of creating that artwork. Anything that I'm doing, I'm seeing if I can kind of like, not even seeing, but hoping that I can lose myself into that. Yeah. And just letting it take over so I can be fully immersed into it. And that kind of cultivates everything, everything around me that either goes into it, comes out of it, and what have you. So yeah, I think it's just being in the moment, being in the present moment, being in the now, And just continuing, because like even when I had the ulcerative colitis, I realized how strong my sense of continuing is, of being able to just move on to the next thing and just thinking, having that question, what's next? What do I need to do to get to this point? And doing it to the best of my ability. I might not always be able to execute, but we still on this still on this journey called life. Yep. So it's like you got to continue regardless. I may be going through emotions. I may be going through a mental battle. I may be going through a physical battle. I may be dealing with shit in life just like everybody else, but I still have to continue to get where I want to get. And it was, that moment really solidified it for me to where it was just like, if I want to get better or if I want to get back to functioning, I have to take my medicine. I have to wait it out. I have to be patient. For me personally, I have to do something in the meantime. So what can I do? How can I do it? And stay consistent until I get there. Because I know I'm going to get there. It's just a matter of when. But yeah.
That was an amazing answer. Because I feel
Appreciate
like that really, it's crazy to hear you talk about like that's what it means to create yourself, because it translates so well. You know, you as a person, just how you operate, how you move, how you are, is a very present-minded person, but also a very consistent person, a person who is always elevating themselves, right? Because you mix the balance of goals and progression and consistency and hard work, and you are able to live it in the present moment, which I feel like really embodies who you are and your character. And dang, man, that was awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was an amazing conversation. I look up to you a lot. You're a huge inspiration of mine in a ton of ways. So this conversation was extremely special to me. So thank you for spending the time.
Appreciate you for having me.
If you want to support the man, tell him where to find you.
You can find me on Instagram at TSOUPFull, TSOUPFULL on Instagram. FOMO on FOMO.Feels on Instagram as well. FOMOFeels.com for the website. I think I also have TSOUP design for my like a general art page if you want to see stuff that I'm creating outside of FOMO.
And we'll make sure to plug all that stuff. Follow the man, show him some love, follow the brand before it gets way too big, and be a trendsetter, all right? Because look,
hey,
you better get early.
Hey,
get here early, or you'll be late. All right,
got some new stuff coming out as well.
Hey,
miss out.
And when that drops, we'll probably have. I'm gonna start decking this place out with everybody who's been on their products, their stuff. So that way we can really just build just all this amazing stuff together. So, like I said, I appreciate you. Until next time, guys, love yourself, be yourself, and create yourself. Peace.
Peace.
Yeah. Oh, that's real good.